Okay, if we could all get settled in so we could get started this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Petrozzi. You ready?
You're up, Mr. Laurie. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I would like to remind everyone of just a couple of things. One, we are now being live streamed across America and the BBC across the ocean, and that the microphones have been fixed. Ray, they sound good. And please, especially to the staff, to speak into your microphone clearly, Maria, loudly, articulate eloquently. Asterisks and all. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for being at this meeting. We have two topics prior to our agenda review. The first topic is something that we've been talking about, and I'm going to let Ms. Glasser introduce it because one of many things that I'm proud of that Judy has undertaken as clerk is that she's looking to be more efficient and effective, and she's looking to support the public in all facets of relationships with the Board of Education. And I think Judy's hit another winner here with this presentation. So Judy, I appreciate your look towards efficiency. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening. Happy holidays. It's nice to see everyone. So I know that this board knows that for many years NTS has been a very important partner with the district long before my tenure in the clerk's office, and really has been an invaluable asset during the annual meetings. It was especially helpful to me as I got underway 3 years ago when Ruth L. retired. And you know, Ruth L. left me a great system, as we all know. I think that in the last 3 years, I've managed to even make that a little bit more efficient, with the exception of 2020, which was an invigorating and memorable election. But going forward, you know, I think we're known as a district that is cutting edge. We're always saying how proud we are of our technology, but the one time a year that residents don't have kids in school actually interact with the school district is when they come to vote. And then they see a lot of inspectors pulling out paper and going through books, and somebody bringing out a slate and a chisel where they can record their vote, and it's really not a good look. There's a more efficient way to go about this. So I think it's very important that we try to move forward and have a more technologically secure, more efficient, more 21st century look to our voting. So to tell us about that is NTS's business development specialist, Kim Durrell, who is just an invaluable partner to me, and I'm going to let her take you through the presentation.
Thank you, Judy, and thank you, everybody, for having me today. Happy holidays. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
I'll page 3 if you don't mind.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so I'd just like to bring you through the events that are a timeline of what NTS does behind the scenes to what we do to prepare for the budget vote for the school district. So,
give us a second, please. There you go.
it's just a screen. Okay. So, timeline of events that happens. So 4 weeks prior to a vote, NTS performs a data refresh. So a poll book can be created with the most up-to-date information. 3 weeks prior to a vote, NTS creates a poll book file and prepares to print that file. 2 weeks prior to a vote, NTS prints, binds, and ships those poll books, or hand delivers them, to the district. 1 week prior to a vote, we perform a final refresh, so a supplemental report can be printed. So after we print those large poll books, we also have to do another refresh, pull in the most up-to-date information, any late registered voters, to what I call a mini poll book. We provide a mini poll book to the district. So a few days prior to the election, that mini poll book can be printed, or we will send it through an email. So let's talk about using paper at poll sites. Typically, sign-in sheets must be maintained at a poll site, probably at a welcome table. Voters must line up by last name, so when you walk into a poll site, you're usually directed to the poll book or the table that has your last name in that poll book. If a voter's name does not appear on the rolls, a few things typically happen. The voter is redirected to another line. The poll worker or clerk must check the supplemental list to see if their name appears on that list. If their name is not on the supplemental list, the voter's poll site assignment must be verified. We have to make sure that they're in the right poll site or that they're eligible to vote within the district. If they are in the wrong poll site, they need to be redirected to the poll site where they should be voting. If the voter refuses to vote at another location or information is unverifiable, on the spot, they are given an affidavit ballot to vote. All these steps take time. They also can make a voter an unhappy voter and sometimes can be unsupportive. So I want to talk about the benefits of e-sign. E-sign is the new and improved way to vote. It's voting on an iPad electronically. If you voted in a county election before, you've already used this process, and the poll workers have as well. So voters don't have to line up according to last names, maintains optimal flow at the poll sites. Supplemental lists are no longer necessary because the data reflected is pushed directly to the iPad in real time. All of those voters are A to Z in the iPad, so a voter can go to any table to sign in and vote. If a voter signs the wrong record, it can immediately be canceled and the right record can be pulled up for them to sign. There's no more signing in the wrong spot in the poll book, drawing an arrow saying that this is the voter. E-sign reflects both county registered voters and voters who register solely with the district, and poll lists are available at any time for poll watchers. Reports can be printed immediately so that they're not confiscating poll books. So let's talk about the added benefits of e-sign for the district. Original records are saved digitally. They're not in boxes anymore, eliminating disaster recovery and storage concerns. There's no more boxes of poll books to lug around and find storage places for. Everything can be maintained on a flash drive or it's maintained within NTS. Voter history collection is no longer necessary. We don't have to come back, pick up the books, scan all the voters, and then bring them back to the district for safekeeping. The reports are available the end of night, so your poll book report and everybody that voted, you can be printed or stored immediately after the election that night. FOIL requests can be responded to easily and immediately because there's no more scanning of poll books and waiting for voter history to be collected. All of the equipment is provided by NTS. There's no hardware investments or maintenance required by the district. Entire package, this is key, is BOCES aid eligible. So what does this do? This gives us a better experience for the voters. Checking in voters using e-sign versus paper poll books takes a fraction of the time, which I'm going to show you in a video right after. Voters can check in at any open station or the one with the shortest line. They do not have to stand in a specific line according to last name anymore. It's just a little blurb, from one of our district clerks. We piloted this program with 10 of our school districts, the closest one being North Tonawanda. It was a success. We had no issues. Everybody absolutely loved it. Since then, we have probably moved 90% of our school districts to e-sign. We only have 10 districts that are customers that I haven't spoken with yet. We can play the video. So this is just showing you the iPad and how easy it is to check in and sign in a voter. The passwords are already stored, so poll workers, all they have to do is tap the screen and use the password. All the passwords are changed every year. They are never the same. This is the poll worker facing screen that they will see. They just type in the last name of the voter or something of that nature. You will see a couple things on that screen. It'll go back. If they're in the wrong poll site, it'll tell them that they're in the wrong poll site. It'll give them a pop-up in red. If the poll worker clicks on that wrong poll site, it'll actually give them the poll site where they are assigned to vote. If they've already checked in, you can play it again if you want to, they will already have a yellow spot next to their name that says already checked in, so the voter cannot vote again. They can't go to another poll site and vote again. So this, I'm just going to have you watch the ease of going through e-sign. So we type in last name, do a search, we find the voter, click the green, capture signature, we verify the information, swivel towards the voter is going to sign the pad, click submit, then the poll worker checks that voter in, return to search. It's that easy. Any questions?
Wow, that was very efficient
Thank you.
and very good. And I'm, along with Judy, recommending that we do this for the May 2022 budget and 22 election. I want to make sure that this board is comfortable with that. I think, as you alluded to, we have great technology everywhere else. We need to show our technology to our voters, who in most cases don't have children in schools, but we have to stay with the times. And I think there's a lot of efficiencies. They still print out they still have to circle in and scan that.
You still have to have the ballots, which is, in the near future, this is something that NTS is working on, where we can provide school districts with ballots on demand. So it's coming, it's not here yet. And I just want to let everybody know that we do also provide a condensed poll book. So in the event that, Wi-Fi service does go down, there's a backup. You pull the poll book, they just go right to paper. It's that quickly. It's immediate. Yes. Yes. I will do the training for this. I will drop off, we personally drop off the iPads and pick them up, and I will do all of the poll worker training on site. Question, Ross?
A couple questions.
Sure.
Do you verify signatures?
Yes.
Okay, so
When they sign, so they're signing digital. So that when you go to like the grocery store and we sign, we scribble. We're not all handwriting experts, so obviously we want to make sure that it's matched. We want to verify the address of the voter. That's why we're looking at that screen before they sign. But yes, the signature is right there next to the one that they sign.
so then once somebody votes, then we know they voted.
Yes, and NTS is also going to start saving the digital signatures as well. So because you're moving, when the district moves forward with e-sign, we'll save the digital signatures that they sign.
Question then, my apologies. Okay, what's the cost?
I have provided the estimate to Judy. So you have that. Not
6,000, I had it memorized from our meeting.
Just round number.
$6,383, BOCES reimbursable, and I'm not sure what the rate is.
It's fine, money well spent.
$6,383. And Becky would have to tell me what the reimbursement rate is on that.
Well spent.
Thank you.
New board member here, Mr. Massaro.
I'm sorry.
You mean the voters who have signed, registered on personal registration day? No, that is not anything that I'm familiar with. I know that there is a requirement that after our personal registration day, I have to have a list of new voters.
Right.
Correct.
And that list is available in TMUD.
I have a question, if I'm allowed to ask something. Please do. How does this impact absentee voters, or doesn't it?
It does not.
Okay.
Absentees are still done the exact same way
So
they are.
we will have a bifurcated system with respect to absentee voters.
Correct.
They will do the old method.
Yes, and if they do come in to vote, the iPad will tell the poll worker, this voter has returned an absentee ballot.
Yeah, that was my way around this, right? I'm an absentee voter, but you know what? I'm going to go vote today.
So
That-
they absolutely can, and then it's up to the district how you want to count them. Do you want to count them as an absentee or an in-person?
It depends if they vote for the budget or not. No, I'm kidding. It's a joke. It is a joke. Strike that from the video.
Will they kick it out?
It's a joke.
Well,
The way we handle those, just so that you know, absentee ballots are sorted by me according to poll site. So every absentee voter who's supposed to vote here, for example, in those wooden boxes that we are also familiar with on budget vote night. Those absentee ballots are sorted and placed in there. Poll workers are not to open those or unlock that box until 9. So that if Mark's got an absentee ballot and he decides, oh, I think I'll go and vote in person, we can open up that box, mark Lori, pull it out, write void on it, and then permit him to vote.
How would you know that he voted twice?
He can't vote twice. Either way,
But
whether,
how are you notified if he says an absentee ballot and then votes in person? How are you notified that there's 2 ballots cast?
when he applies for an absentee ballot,
He's automatically kicked out of the system.
no, when anybody applies for an absentee ballot, they apply through me, I issue it, and I enter it in the system that I have sent out this absentee ballot. When the ballot is returned to me, I also enter that it has come back to me, it's in my possession.
Yeah. So,
Well,
two-
they can vote, but then we have to void their absentee ballot and not count it. You can only vote one way.
So, if I may answer that quickly, there's something new in our system when you sign up for e-sign. Okay, there's a report that Judy can print. It is absentees who voted in person. She prints that report at the end of night, or the poll worker will get notified on the iPad, and it'll say, this person has already returned, because Judy has already scanned that ballot as that being returned. They have their barcoded. So she will know before they even count the absentees.
They do that, well, by 5 p.m. on the day of the election.
That technological feature makes me feel better, that the poll worker will know.
The poll worker will know as soon as they come out and they put in their name and they hit submit or capture signature, there's going to be a pop-up that says this person has returned an absentee ballot. Do you want to continue? Yes. It'll let them sign. No. They record the absentee ballot.
And that, I don't mean to,
It's okay.
that is part of your training,
It is part of my training.
okay? Because that could very easily happen,
Oh, yes, absolutely.
very easily happen. I know some of the people that vote could easily happen. Look out for an
Is there
Earl's
a
meal.
place, Judy, is there a place for a write-in at all?
Well, because your ballot is unchanged. So there is still a place for a write-in, as there always has been, but that is sort of separate and apart from, we're just talking about checking people in and then handing them their ballot and off they go, same as always.
Last question. It's usually about 10:30, once the old process is done. This won't necessarily speed that up.
No, you're
Correct.
still going to have to.
We
count
still have to,
machines.
yeah, okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay.
What we will see in real time is how many people have voted. Obviously,
Correct.
we don't know how they voted.
Right.
But I'll be able to say, oh, G mark is 3 o'clock, 1,700 people have voted, or whatever.
You will be able to log into the TMed software that she currently has in place right now, and it'll
Okay.
tell you statistics of who came to, how many people came out to each site, what times were your highest peaks.
Got it. Oh, that's interesting, too.
NTS, Kim also brought you, I don't want to overlook that.
It's okay.
Fabulous, these are fabulous. It's just a
Coffee mug.
coffee mug, but I
It's a reusable straw, metal straw.
You
This
know,
is,
It's Christmas time.
I have to say,
I don't know,
it
Miss
really,
Lee.
it's an amazing cup. You'll see. I did, I had to test it
I'm
out for
sorry.
you, Mr. Consemi. Hey, I left with my iced coffee at 7:30 in the morning, and when I went home at 4:30, it was still.
It's a
iced
straw?
in that cup. Give you that.
this is a straw?
Yes.
Oh,
So we do dry ice.
You all set? Thank you.
Any more questions?
Fire it up, baby, fire it up.
Okay, good. How does it work, Mark?
it's delicious.
Oh, right, great. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, any concern from you or the board in going forward with this technological advancement?
Folks, I think it's about time.
Yeah, it was a little small.
Any other questions?
I think we should.
We all good?
Yeah.
We are good. You need a resolution, or do we have a resolution, or will we have one?
Relating to this?
Yes,
No, sir. Now, you will have one in January?
that's right, Matt. We'll have one in
Okay,
January.
that's good.
When do you, that's when you start, Judy, your exciting list of resolutions? You and Becky, it's your time. Huddling in the back, getting their assignments currently from Mr. Corella.
Look at that.
They're huddling. It's a huddle, Tony.
Oh, he's like Josh Allen.
We're not playing. Thank you very much for coming and for the gifts. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. They're huddling. I think once they break, they're going to go into the no huddle offense.
Absolutely.
Mr. Corella, would you approach the bench with your team? I just wanted to make a few comments before Rick speaks. I want to, first of all, congratulate everybody that has been involved with the Sister School project. There was a number of public forums, there was a number of meetings, there were a number of questions, there were a number of issues that had to be resolved, there were a number of union concessions, there were a number of conversations. It was all for the betterment of kids. And I couldn't be more pleased or satisfied with the start of this school year and the progress that the sister schools have made. Very, very few problems. I think it is attributable to the team planning that went on 2, 3, 4 years ago. I'm proud of where we are. We're not there yet. We've talked to the principals about not being there yet, but we have made some outstanding progress for the benefit of kids in both Niagara Street and Kelpis and Abbott School. Everything just seemed to fall into a nice, smooth rhythm. So I say to the administrators who are going to present, to the staff that isn't here but worked, and to Rick for leading this initiative, thank you for the guidance and direction you've made this major district move on. We've been talking about this since 1993. 1992, 29 years later, we get things done. We got something done that's really good for kids. So Rick, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As Mark mentioned, this has been a long road, and we're very, very pleased to be able to give you a progress update tonight. We started this initiative, or looking at it, with a wide stakeholder group in 2018, and here we're on the cusp of 2022. So it's been a little bit of a pause due to the pandemic, but if you recall, and you've had many reports on this, we had a stakeholder group that looked at the issue, looked at the pros and cons, made a recommendation to the superintendent. He made the recommendation to you. We then held a series of public forums for parents in the school community. We surveyed parents, and then when you committed to allowing us to move forward, we started working on the planning. That was paused due to the pandemic, but then we restarted it again in January of 2021. So we moved very quickly. We had a lot of folks involved. We had a lot of teachers and some other stakeholders involved, and in particular, the administrators who are here tonight, so I'd like to introduce them, and you're going to be hearing from each one of them. I'm going to start at my far left here. Angela Manella, the assistant principal of Abbott. Lynn Tompkins, principal of Abbott. Carrie Buckman, principal of Kelpis. And Rocco Marino, principal of Niagara Street School. Dorothy Brundage has also been a huge mover in our initiative. She's not able to be with us tonight, but she's here in spirit. To start off, I want to remind everyone of what we initially talked about. Our vision was 3 campuses, 1 mission. We would unite the families in these 3 buildings in a continuum that was enhanced and addressed the needs that were demonstrated by those student populations. So the next slide shows you what the schools look like today. So this is a quick enrollment snapshot. The primary schools, the pre-K to grade 2 schools, Kelpis and Niagara Street, they're in green, and Harry Abbott, grades 3 through 6, is in blue. If you look through quickly, what you'll see here is these schools look like our district. In that, I mean, we have pre-kindergarten children in both of the primary buildings. We have exactly 200 students between the two buildings in pre-K 3 and pre-K 4. We also have special classes for students with IEPs. We have a general consultant teacher student population in 2 of the 3 buildings. And at Kelpis, we have primary ENL students. Currently, Kelpis has 23 ENL students, or English as a New Language students. And you can see at the bottom here the numbers of students that are in our special classes, as well as our total population of students with disabilities at each building. I'm sorry, Mrs. Buckman, I may have, I'm sorry, I should have moved that number down, but you can see Kelpis's number of special class students is currently at 35, and that was as of the end of November. At this point, we're going to have our principals come up and give us some highlights of what's going on in each of the buildings, starting with the primary buildings. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Krella. Good evening, everybody. So the Performing Arts program at Kelpis and Agri is off to a great start. This service is provided to all kindergarten, first, and second grade students. They receive this every 15 weeks, so it's a rotating basis. The important thing, I think, really to know about this slide is we also offer it to our special education students. Our special classes, we have 3 of them at Niagara Street, so they receive this service all year round. And from what I see when we visit and from what the teachers are telling us, these kids are really doing the best with this because it's a lot of movement, obviously, dancing, singing, acting. So these kids are really, I think, benefiting from this service. And I think it's really, important that you know that. The 2 teachers, Megan Millar and Caitlin Principe, are outstanding. They've really built a great program. We're off to a great start. There's going to be a performance actually tomorrow, 2 performances actually during the school day. Parents are invited. So we're really going to get to see the great show that they're putting together. It's really, this month it's about holidays around the world, so we're really trying to blend in that multicultural theme so the kids are exposed to multiculture, and that's kind of where we're going at Kelpis and Agri Street, but we're really off to a great start, so we're excited about it.
I wanted to speak to this slide just briefly and to remind you folks that you approved our pilot for the Math AIS program. And that really grew out of two circumstances. One, obviously, the pandemic and the learning loss that we are needing to address in our students. But before that, we had always planned on offering a program like this in our sister schools. It is both enrichment and remediation, and it addresses some of our critical needs and helps us to fill some of the gaps that appear in students' learning of mathematics. On January 13th, I'm going to have the staff in the pilot program with me here, and we're going to describe to you what the program looks like and what we're doing, and we'll give you some initial data. But these photos here show you a little bit about how it's delivered. You can see the student in the middle photo there is on a number line that is a mat on the floor. We work with all of our students through and introduce them to kinesthetic learning, meaning using all of their senses to practice math fluency and learn basic facts. We also have a second piece of the program where the neediest students work with our Math AIS teachers or teaching assistants in small groups on skills that we've identified they need more assistance in. So if you look over to, it would be my left, and I think it's your left as well, that's Ms. Chapman from Kelpis, working with a small group of students that I believe in the center there, that's Mrs. Ruffalo over at Niagara Street, working with a small group of students. And then to my right, there's a larger group activity going on there. So you'll hear much more about that, but there are 5 schools that we are implementing the pilot in, and 3 of them are the sister schools. Next, Ray. Some more program highlights.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to talk to you tonight about our STEM programming here at Kelpis and Niagara Street. It's available for students in kindergarten, first and second. And if you look at the picture, you'll see the students are interacting with little robots that they're actually coding. So they're developing the program to move these little robots. So they're getting this introduction to STEM, to coding, which will hopefully eventually lead to greater interest on their part in this type of career path, and they love it. So at my school, when I see them and I hear them, they are critically thinking, they're hands-on, and they are just enjoying themselves immensely. So it's a joy to see their joy in learning. So if you're ever by Kelpis and you want to stop in, we're doing these activities on Mondays and Tuesdays. And the next slide, we are also focusing on social emotional learning. And at our school, we're talking about expressing gratitude. So at Thanksgiving time, our students created thankful trees. So what is that? They each took leaves and added it to a tree, and on these leaves, they were able to say why they were thankful for our fire department and our police department. And we were able to invite members from those 2 organizations to our school, and we presented the trees to them. So it was a great opportunity for us to express our gratitude and let them know that we are thankful for all that they're giving back to us. And we're moving on to Abbott.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Niagara Street. And their community engagement.
Thank you. So with family engagement, we think that one of the most important things we do at Niagara Street and Kelpis is involve families in our actions. If families are involved, things go much smoother. What we found at Niagara Street, you see the one slide, we had two events, the Magic and Math Night in September, and then the Spectacular Fall Festival in October. And what we find is that parents want to come to these events, but they want to take part with their kids. They want to do activities with their kids. So you'll notice in the one slide, it's in the cafeteria at Niagara Street. They're actually building something together as a family. This was a really well-attended event. And this is something we want to do more of, because the families, we couldn't believe how well it went and how into it they were with building these things with their kids. So this is something, we did it in September and October, and everybody was great about coming, wearing their mask, doing the right thing. So we want to do more of this. And we, like I said, we think this is critical to what we do at all of our schools, is family engagement. If you don't have the family buy-in, you're kind of dead in the water, as you know. So we're really focusing on this hard. So we're really proud of these 2 events.
Thank you. So Mrs. Tompkins is going to give us some program highlights from Harry Abbott.
Good evening, everyone. As you know, we've talked much about the trimester courses that we were having. And what was very exciting with an overwhelming success is the introduction of performing arts at the elementary level, as you heard the other principals share, but also the introduction to instrumental music for our 3rd grade students. So that's 2 items that we have not had exposure to before. And I will tell you, in the most dramatic of fashions, I was in the performing arts classroom with 3rd graders the other day, and they realized that it was their last day of the 13-week session. And they looked at each other, and the one young lady says to the other, "Oh my goodness, this is going to be the best 20 minutes of my life. We're going to do this." And they were so excited. And I looked at Mrs. Miller, I said, "Wow, the pressure's on now. So we had a really wonderful time. And in the introduction to instrumental with the recorder class with Mr. Kanicki, he is so thrilled to reach all of the third graders this year because it's really going to build the brand program. So just as we thought it was going to do, it's really providing that exposure to other senses and to other themes in the arts, and we're hitting standards that we have not before. So we're very excited about that. What the 13-week trimester courses allows is grade level planning for those teachers. And they are using that common planning time. They are collaborative. So we really are pleased with how the schedule is working in that favor. As you know, we've also talked about the enhanced student support, and that's what we're able to do. With the third and the fourth grade teams, we have our own start for administration and deans and counselors and the social workers and the psychologists. We meet weekly, and it's separate from start. So that's a real good focused intervention for those students. And we have the same for 5th and 6th grade. So we're real pleased with that. You've already heard about the Math AIS. We're reaching at least 160 students, and additionally, they're working with 6th grade students too. So that's a wonderful addition. Mr. Marino shared about the dance, and I'll tell you, the collaboration and the integration with Ms. Principe, we were right on. So we've hired the right people, they're in the right places, and it really is doing what we want them to do. So very excited about that. So real quick, up at the top, Ray, do you think we can get that little video of STEM in action to play? We have embedded Ms. McGrath. And it is a vertical alignment from primary through to the intermediate, through to the prep schools, because we have Mr. Clark working with us too. Okay? That's okay.
It's a short
We
video.
can, yeah. It's a 34-second one, so if we can't get it, that's okay. We can move on.
We have 3 videos that are less than a minute. It's my fault, I forgot to show Mr. Canary where the first one was embedded.
It's linked in that picture. Cross
Okay,
our
Rick,
fingers,
I'm
right?
remembering it, Rick.
It's from Christmas.
Try over the word STEM.
Students enrolled in STEM classes at Harry F. Abbott Elementary School are gaining fundamental knowledge of applied robotics and coding. Student teams built the robots you see here and are controlling their movement using code, which they write and send to the robot via Bluetooth technology. Even this basic understanding is critical for this generation in so many ways. They will continue to expand their learning in grade 6 and be well prepared for prep and high school STEM opportunities.
Okay, so that is a sample of the 4th grade STEM, and then Mr. Clark is also teaching the 6th grade STEM. So it is the next step into that, and it is the great precursor for the students as they enter the prep school. So we're very excited about that. Then we have a little list of pictures just to show you the students in action. Well, I can go through. So this top picture, if you want to do it that way. You just slide it over. Okay. So we were able to build in art therapy into the day. So we have Mrs. Maloney working with select groups of students that the counselors and the deans have suggested would benefit from an SEL with the art therapy. So right now they're painting some portraits that we can hang in the new cafeteria of fruits and vegetables. So if you want to slide him over, there we go. Next picture, I'm thinking you're not going to be able to see. This is one of Prince P's Great Turkey Escape Adventures. So she is very interactive, and the children have all sorts of tactile learning, and I think we can slide him over. Oh, Mr. Kanicki and the recorder. How would you like a recorder class at 9:15 in the morning with third graders? It's very exciting. He loves it, and the children love it too. They were very sad to see the 13 weeks on. We just had a smooth transition to our term 2 trimester classes. So new group comes in. This is a sample of Move This World. Very bodily kinesthetic. We have piano lessons inside music class with Dr. Wingert, who is a wonderful addition as well. And this is Playworks with Coach Jasmine and her Junior Coach Leadership Program. And this is a wonderful program as well. Playworks is, she's like a rock star when she comes in. All the kids are like, Coach Jasmine. So they love her, and it's going really well. Back to STEM. And performing arts. And math AIS. And I think that's about it, okay? I think we're set. Thank you.
In one of our earlier reports, we talked about the need to make sure that we had some school-wide programming that addressed students' social and emotional needs. And I believe I talked you through the process that the committee followed to select a school-wide program that we would put in place in each of the 3 buildings. Move This World is the name of the program that was chosen. So Angela is going to show you some of the constructs of the program, and there are 2 short videos that give you a better idea of what students are learning throughout the week and month.
Good evening, everyone. As you can see at the top, the program is in 5 domains there: self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills, decision-making, and social awareness. And in those domains, there are several skills associated therein. The program teaches students how to deal with their emotions through something called emojers. The emojers look a little bit different from early primary through the intermediate grades, but those are some of the examples there of how they learn to cope with their feelings in this program. As you can imagine, the pandemic just compounded the issues that our students are faced with, so this has proven already to have such great benefits for our students. I can speak to Abbott in particular. When Lynn and I go around every day, several times a day, we see this program in action at all times during the day. Some teachers choose to do it first thing in the morning to get their day framed and started. Some teachers choose to do it after lunch to settle the kids before they start their afternoon session. So embedded in the Move This World icon there on the left, there should be a video that will show them a little bit about the program.
We're creative, it's an inherently vulnerable process. Whether it's writing or moving our bodies, we are connecting to ourselves in a more profound, authentic way than we would cerebrally. Move This World's mission is to equip pre-K through 12th grade educators and students with tools to strengthen mental, emotional, and social well-being. Our curriculum is rooted in techniques from expressive arts therapy, positive psychology, mindfulness, and social emotional learning. We work with visionary leaders either at the district level or at the building level who are looking to create an environment, a climate and culture where students and staff can thrive. These are leaders who are looking for existing structures that they want to elevate or strengthen, or new tools to build a common language, to create an environment where teachers and students have tools to check in with themselves, check in with one another, ensure that emotional wellness is part of the DNA and operating plan of how they run their building. Every teacher receives access to a platform of evidence-based videos that they use to start and end the instructional day. So it really is as easy as pressing play. Some of my favorite moments are when a common language is developed, and it's not just teachers and principals holding students accountable, but students holding themselves accountable and holding one another accountable. Teachers have so much on their plate. There are so many responsibilities that teachers hold. If adults have the tools to take care of themselves, to model pro-social behavior, to build a foundation for taking care of our stress and supporting our wellness, then we're in a better position to model this and cultivate this in others.
One of the things that she mentioned that has been a real benefit for our teachers, she mentioned that they have a lot on their plate, and they certainly do. What's great about this program, it is ready to roll. They open their account, they click, they're able to participate with their students, so it's not something else the teachers need to do, it's done for them. They are just the facilitator. So embedded in that emojis poster, I believe there's a very brief video. There was, where I know where, there it is.
Hi, I'm Elliot. It's time to practice our 10 emojis. Emojis are things we do to manage our emotions. We practice our emojis through movements and gestures to remember different ways to calm down when we feel really angry, sad, scared, or sometimes even excited. This helps connect what we feel in our bodies with what we understand in our brains. I will say the emoji, and then let's all do the movements together. Ready? Here we go. Breathe 5 times. Count the...
I think that gives you an idea that they're very animated. At first, I was like, wow, are these intermediate?
I was going to use them tomorrow.
You want to do the rest?
No, that's all right.
Okay.
I thought, well, they're not here. I thought we were going to use them with some of the people at the table over there, but that's okay.
I don't know if my colleagues will agree, but the first time I saw this all go down, I was like, oh, wow, are these kids, what are they going to think about this? Like,
Right.
They do it. It's amazing. And I will say from my own perspective, when I walk in the classroom and they're doing a breathing and stretching exercise, I just put all my stuff down and just start like breathing and stretching, and it is amazing. So it is very well received by the teachers and the students. And I'll just end by saying the program dictates that teachers should be engaged in the platform at least 3 times per week. They do it every day, but there's carryover from the day before. And I'm happy to report in all 3 schools, we have exceeded that threshold. Every participating teacher is over the 3 days per week at this point. So we can go to that next slide. One of the charges we had when we were planning was to come up with a format for parent groups. As we know, as a district, and I've been in many buildings myself, it's always a struggle to kind of get a cohesive, well-run parent group. So Dorothy and I got together with a skeletal framework and presented to our broader team an idea for what a parent group could look like in that combined model. With that being said, this is our very quick outline of what that looks like. So we have a sister school parent group and advisory board. The parent group consists of the building administrators, the PEG president and or vice president, a community member, which is Coach Jasmine, agreed to take on that role because she is not only a community member, a partner, she's also a parent. And we have 3 students that were selected, 1 from each of the former campuses, to participate in the advisory board. So our intent for this group would be to empower staff, parents, and students to become active participants in the building and have a sustaining, cohesive, and engaging sister school community. We've covered a wide variety of topics this year. We do meet once a month. We had an IDIC presenter, SEL with Laura Riley, Reading Recovery, and we had Move This World was scheduled to come in December, but we moved that because we didn't realize we scheduled the meeting 5 days before Christmas. We thought it was a good idea to not do that after we thought about it. We do have a long-term goal of developing a family empowerment academy, which would be workforce prep for our parents and provide them with workshops. Right now, we're functioning. We meet once a month. Our attendance is not where we would like it to be, but we're working on ways to increase that partnership. But we also still do building individualized activities with our parent groups as well.
Thank you all. We wanted to finish by giving you a few of our next steps and future goals. When we began planning through the committee process, we have always had a 3-year rollout in mind, and Mark alluded to that earlier, that it's going to take a few years for us to realize all of the programs that we would like to include and refine each one. So for our intermediate school, Abbott, we want to continue to integrate career awareness and exploration into the core curriculum. We would like to begin to introduce some career-themed programming, such as computer science and introduction to the trades. We also are going to be looking at problem-based learning, and that is really a methodology, an instructional methodology, where we blend objectives from the different subject areas into one overarching problem that students try to solve or project that they're working on. It gives them a better contextual sense of why what they're learning is important and how they apply it to the real world. And I know I've probably mentioned this to you before, we're very cognizant of the fact that students at this age are beginning to form their ideas of what their future selves will look like. And in many ways, there's research that shows that their success depends on how much they are aware, even before getting to middle school, of what they could possibly be and do. And they need to start setting goals. We're also going to continue to develop the good, strong STEM curriculum that you saw. That is firmly in place this year, but we believe that we can develop more. And immediately on tap is a spring musical in the intermediate school. The winter musical that the performing arts teachers are working on is at the primary level, and then the intermediate students will have their turn come spring. For our primary schools, our top of the agenda item right now is to get a playground installed at Niagara Street. So our tentative date, which might be a little bit ambitious, but I'm sure we can do it, is August of 2022. And we'd like to, I believe, Mr. Laurie, roll that in with the ceremony.
I'll talk about that. I'll talk about it in a minute. Yeah.
Okay. We also want to take a look at those last 3 bullets, and I'll go through them very, very briefly. We've mentioned before that the mission of the primary buildings is to make sure that our very youngest students are both literate and emotionally mature enough to succeed at the intermediate level. There's a major transition that happens between 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and 4th grade. And our primary function at these levels is to surround our students with as many supports and interventions as they need so that they can achieve academically and socially. And that's always what we're keeping our eye on in these schools. So we're going to continue to use things like purposeful play and integrate movement into our instruction so that it's developmentally appropriate for young kids. You saw quite a bit of that evidenced in those photos. We're also going to continue to build out our social emotional programming and intervention and supports for kids and for their families, and continue to focus on academic readiness for the next level. So at this point, I want to thank all the principals for coming out and for showing us what's going on at those schools. I want to thank a couple of people that I know are here that worked on the committees earlier. I see Nick Ruffalo is here. I think Brian Rotella is also here. And Brian worked with me right at the initial steps back in 2018. We did the forums together, so I wanted to make sure that those guys got a chance to see how things are moving along. And again, thank you to all of you for your support.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to allude to. Brian, how's the hospital doing, Brian? I'm kidding. I wanted to point a couple things out and then certainly open it up for your questions. Something that I really liked about that presentation, and you kind of make the schools came alive, which was really nice, is the use of the different modalities and how we're trying to tap into all the modalities of children. Now, let's just put a big picture hat on. We're going to start 181 students in Head Start who will funnel their way to Kelpis and Niagara Street in a sequential way, doing the same kind of things. Advantage, advantage, advantage. They'll go to those wonderful learning opportunities at Kelpis and Niagara Street, funnel to Abbott, get ready to go to middle school and high school more prepared, which is where I know the high school team really wants them. I wanted to just thank you for a couple of things, and it's going to end with an ask. It's going to end with an ask that Rick couldn't put on there, but this is what you allowed us to do. You allowed us to hire 3 teachers to be dance, theater arts, etc. That couldn't be done without specialists. I think Rick alluded to the math AIS. We added 10, what's the cadre of math teachers we added? Math teachers and teaching assistants.
Right, all together I use 12.
We added 12 math teachers or teaching assistants. We added, this isn't even on here, and I know Rocco and Carrie are instrumental in this, but we added 6 reading recovery teachers. 8. I'm going to get to a point here. You saw the STEM. I'm glad we have that STEM robotics because I want to put the pressure on the middle school and high school robotics team. I didn't like that we finished in 7th place in the world. I expect a better finish. And I think that if they're learning in elementary, they're going to get even better. So we need to point that out. You hired 6 social workers across the district that helped us integrate Move Thy World or Move Your World and everything else. You let us buy that program, and what I'd like to tell you about the playground, which I think would be a really nice accompaniment. Did you bring the photo, Earl? Look at that, not right on cue. So there is the tentative design of the playground for Niagara Street. Kelpis has a beautiful playground. Abbott has a nice playground. Rick talks about purposeful play. We need to put a playground at Niagara Street. The goal is to get that, Earl, listen really closely. The goal is to get that up and working, functioning before the renaming ceremony so that we'll have something tied together at Niagara Street with a playground and a renaming. You allowed us to do that. Now, here's the ask. I have to ask you for more. In the next couple of months, Becky and Julie are going to start coming to you with the 22-23 budget. And this is after 12, 15 weeks. We need to take this even further. I mean, those 30 teachers and playgrounds and programs, we couldn't have done it without them. But now we've got to go further. And then we also have to remember we have 5 other elementary schools, and we've got to make this bigger. So I'm kind of setting you up with an anticipatory set for what I'm going to come to you with in January, February, and March, because our kids need more. And I can't thank you enough for trusting the concept and supporting it with staff and programs as well as a playground. So I just want to say that to you. And you could see by the administrators and teachers' work, they did what they said they would do, and it's gone very well. I couldn't be more pleased, ladies and gentlemen. I couldn't be more pleased, and I want to thank you for that. With that, I don't know if you have any questions for the team.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, gang.
We have a few minutes. What I'd like to do is go through an agenda review, Mr. President. There are just a few additions to our last meeting. I'll wait till Ray cues that up. We'll get Maria ready to get the personnel ready, practice her linguistics, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Practice, Maria. Here we go. 7 p.m., we'll call the meeting to order. Ray, if you'd slide. Look at item number 2, the usual activities. We have the prayer, the pledge, the appointment of a board member, the swearing in. Oral communications, if anybody is signed in to speak on the following agenda topics. We'll go through those agenda topics now so the audience can see what they are. And written communication. Hang on a minute. We have budget transfer number 5. It's 4 away from Mr. Bilson's budget transfer favorite. There are no bids this month. The budget status and treasurer's report. Maria will go through the personnel reports, the committee on special ed report. We do have 3 short-term contracts. The first one is for some professional development around the math program, the AIS math that you saw. People Inc. is for the high school. It is a no-cost program for workforce training for our special ed students at high school in grades 9 and 10. And number 3 on the short terms is, this is not a fee that comes from the board, but we are planning on having a full prom at the conference center in the city. And we have reviewed the prom contract, and we want to put that in front of you. That's just an estimate of what the cost could be. Questions? Okay. There is no unfinished business. Ray, if you'd scroll up just a little more. Number 1 is acceptance of funds for the mentor-teacher program. It's approximately $63,000. It's stayed whole. It hasn't moved. We have a full-time teacher center director that the board supplements, but most of her salary comes from that. My Brother's Keeper is a $125,000 grant that allows us to get into the community and do great things, like something that Mrs. Jones and team did last week when they had their mentoring program, which was great to see. Extended School Day Violence Prevention Funds are for all the after-school clubs and work that teachers do after school. Title I, 2A, is about $5 million. That's the earliest we've ever had that approved. It's a federal entitlement based on our poverty and population. 605, we got approved today. This is the amendment, right, Richard? Correct. We got an additional $8,900 in Head Start money. Richard has assigned good use of that. Those are the acceptance of funds. 605, we have the First Lady and the Mayor here. The Mayor came before you at the last meeting on the 3rd of December, and along with his architects, presented to you his plan and vision for the new Centennial Park. I think you asked a number of questions about it, and I thought Mayor Rustino and team did a pretty thorough job explaining that, and we're hoping that you will support that, and the mayor can take that where he needs to advance his proposal on Centennial Park in downtown. 607, we do have a change, and it's in front of you. This is the approval to transfer 2 of the Head Start buildings that the amended resolution in front of you asks you to accept only 1 of the Head Start buildings tonight. We're only ready to accept the DeFrancesco building on 24th Street. We're not ready yet to accept the Donovan building. There are a few things that need to be cleaned up. I'm hoping I can bring that back to you in January for full acceptance. We will, without a doubt, begin Head Start on January 2nd, 3rd in the DeFrancesco building. The Donovan building has some work to do on it, and we're not going to be ready to accept that until some conditions are met. 608 is for more staff development, correct, Rick? Rick left. It's for staff development around literacy. Actually, no, that's not. This is we use the TEMPS organization. Who are the TEMPS? Roger Carroll and Jean Colbago. Roger and Jean run an organization of retired teachers. They provide technology services for Ray, and for Rick and Kathy Sullivan, they provide a PEP support, and we're just changing the rate. There's not an increase in the money. 609 is for trauma-informed care. What Niagara Falls High School started was a student trauma team. And we are paying out of our federal grant for leadership from UB to teach students in trauma-informed care practices. 610 is an amendment to the Aries transportation contract. That contract was an increase in pay. You know we use Aries sometimes for our special needs students. 611, 12, and 13 are payments to Ferguson for the wires, UNS for the cameras that we purchased, and Ferguson again, that was their retention on the maintenance garage. We're paying them off, and the maintenance garage at a cost of $1.1 million has been rebuilt and repaired. And that's the last of our payments to our union PLA workers. We have no new policies. The meetings in January are on the 13th. Rick alluded to this, the Math AIS. We want to talk to you about a possible change in our district logo to spice it up a little bit. Some Q&A with Maria on civil service questions you may have. On the 27th, it's still career pathways. Cynthia and team are here tonight, and she's going to, you saw the elementary version of it. On the 27th, you'll see the high school version of it. Then Becky kicks in with Julie, I'm sure. It's going to be your first iteration of the 2022-23 budget. Where we are, what our gaps are, what we anticipate. That's a voting meeting. I do want to say one thing. In between the 13th and the 27th, we are hoping to conduct a Dr. Martin Luther King ceremony at Harry Abbott School on the 20th. So on that off week, that we're going back to the Dr. King ceremony, and we are hoping to conduct it at Abbott. Do you have any questions, concerns, comments on the resolutions? I know we've gone through them before. Hearing none, motion carried. I'd just like to say that, Judy. Ms. Massaro, would you come to the microphone with eloquence, grace, and clarity?
Oh, you would like me at the podium? Okay, Mr. Lloyd.
The camera shows off your great side.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Lloyd. That's very kind. So
It's
you
true.
have in front of you our personnel reports this evening, and my favorite word, there are many asterisks there. So we'll start with the certificated report, and you'll see on page 1 we have 2 retirements. Those are of a teacher on special assignment and a principal. On page 2, we have 2 probationary appointments, one of a technology teacher and one of the Head Start director. Then you'll see quite a few regular substitute appointments, and there are some asterisks there too. And then beginning on page 3, we have some per diem appointments. And Schedule B begins and takes us all the way through page 5, where we talk about the winter sports support and some TRC courses. Does anybody have any questions about the certificated report? You have a question? Oh, okay, no problem. Okay. Now we are on the classified report. And again, we have several asterisks there too. We have retirements. You'll see a resignation of a safety officer, a pre-K associate, and a second safety officer. You see some provisional appointments of a secretary 2 and 2 secretary 1s. Probationary appointment of pre-K associate, cleaners, porter, and I'm trying to see if the other new ones, I believe the other new ones are food service helpers. Beginning on page 5 of 8, you see some temporary appointments. We have temporary groundskeeper. We also have a temporary secretary 1 here in central office, temporary general laborer, temporary cleaners. Then we have a voluntary transfer of a cleaner from Niagara Falls High School. That person is going to Niagara Street School. I'm sorry, that's a typographical error there. So on that asterisk, under the voluntary transfer of the cleaner, that cleaner is going from Niagara Falls High School to Niagara Street School. And then you have an involuntary transfer, leaves of absence, change of status, and some additional hours. Also tonight you have an addendum in front of you. The addendum is for the appointment and contract amendment of 2 individuals. And if you have any questions about the classified report or the addendum, I'm happy to try to answer those for you.
On the addendum, I've spoken to you for a couple of months now about those 2 individuals and the work they've done for a long time. One 15 years, one 36 years. Is it 15 or 21?
21.
21 years. That's Maria, and the other 36 years is Rick. 36? 36 years, 4 months, 12 hours, and 15 minutes. And they're both well deserving of that. I'm proud of them. They make this team great, as does everybody here centrally. So I'm recommending them in good conscience, with a clear head, and probably long overdue.
Okay, thank you. Oh, is there a question, Mr. Kinsami? Okay.
Our quasi-human resources director.
That's okay.
Rosie?
He
You
knows
know
a lot
what? You know
about-
what's great? You know what's great about that, Maria? You've been helping him with the dry cleaning, and he can help you with that. That's great.
No, we have an addendum, so we're gonna bring that in, we're gonna walk that in, or we're gonna take it all at once.
You would just do it as the third portion of the area of the personnel report. So you take the personnel report classified, the personnel report certificated, and the personnel report addendum.
An amended addendum, what do we get? Addendum. Got it.
No amendment. Right. You know, it's not your first board meeting.
Make sure I don't mess it up.
And I'm going to ask to make a few comments at those times. Mr. Petrosi, the efficiency of this board tonight is impeccable. I have a couple of announcements if you'd like me to make them now. There is no need for an executive session unless you need one. I don't need one this evening. I could do this quickly, but I want to just bring up a couple of things. I have been working with the refugee centers, and I'm sure the mayor has as well, because I know it impacts the city. We know that there are 50 Afghan refugees coming in January. Today we were able to identify the approximate grades and levels. And many of these refugees will come without paper, without a lot of school records. So we're going to have to do a lot of work at the intake level. It appears as if there will be 22 students coming to our district from the first 50. The majority of them will go to Kelpis because they're primary kids. Then the next group will probably go to LaSalle Prep. And then there are 2 Niagara Falls High School students that we're anticipating. The refugee centers are also telling us that before September, we'll have another 100 refugees coming to the city. I tell you that because I'm going to ask you at some point to add an ENL teacher. And English is a new language teacher. We're at our max in ENL right now. So we're going to have to add an ENL teacher.
Mark, may I
Yeah.
ask a question, sir?
Yes, sir.
How are we going to be able to pull this thing off logistically? I mean, finding folks that can speak that language, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We have some already that we access, and we have a call-in service. We have a language phone line so that we can use it on real time. The 2 languages, and I apologize if I don't say these correctly, are Dari and Pashu. Those are the two languages we're expecting to see from our first 22 students. I want to tell you that we continue to work with transportation every day, every morning. There are a number, today the number was 15. There are a number of drivers and staff out at coach lines. It has caused elementary buses to be late. The high school has done pretty well. They've had Wednesday's a tough day for the high school. I have to say, the saving grace in this all right now was going to the 2:30 dismissal. And I you know, it's been a saving grace, but transportation continues to be difficult. As I said, today there were 15 out. I'll address this now. I want to thank the board, the staff, and especially the administrators that are here today from Niagara Falls High School. As you well know, we received a threat at 3 o'clock on Tuesday. By 3:30, our security director, who has been a godsend, in 2 weeks he's done about 5 months worth of work. We had the picture identified and the year identified, and the credibility of the threat was lessening and lessening and lessening. I want to thank the staff at Niagara Falls High School who remained calm and purposeful. I want to thank the administrative team at Niagara Falls High School who was direct and carried out all of the necessary procedures. I want to tell you that today, Earl, myself, and Chief Del Porto reviewed a new scanning system. It is a system, it's called what, Earl? It's called Evolve Express. I can speak for myself and the chief. I don't know what Earl thought, but I was very impressed with it. It is easier than airport security. It has a very high percentage of picking up every weapon that we could imagine. And it could take 3,600 people through in less than an hour. So I'm very interested in this. I'm not going to wait. I'm going to make an informed decision about this. I'm also not going to order it just for the high school. However, we will order 2 sets for the high school. You could do a single lane or a double lane. I'm going to order 2 double lanes for the high school so that they can get people through very quickly. And for the other schools, we're going to order a single lane. We can determine with the elementary schools if we need to use it or not, but I want to have these walk-through devices ready for every school. Yeah, Nick.
Are these going to be portable so that it can move from different venues, like for a basketball game or for arts, the pack?
Yep. We're going to order 2 that are weather resistant, 1 double and 1 single. So they're on wheels, and the double we can take maybe for a football game where you have more. The single we might want to take for a bowling match.
Bowling?
We could take it for no, I wouldn't do it for bowling. We could take it for baseball or softball. So, I haven't been to too many bowling alleys, as you can tell, but they're portable. They're very non-intrusive. They're using them in big stadiums. They do not, and I want to repeat this, and Earl is my witness, and the chief more importantly, they do not use facial recognition in it. Let me repeat that. They do not use facial recognition. Something happens in the cloud. It's an easy report for a safety officer to read. Right, Earl? Yes. Want to use the microphone and make any comments?
So the beauty of this technology is if someone's passing through, there's people monitoring it with tablets. It turns red if something is discovered on the person. It shows where on the person that can be found. And if that person, let's say, were to get past whatever human security there was there. There's a picture taken of the person, but it is not in any way tied to face recognition software. I'm
Yep.
sorry? Yes,
Everything.
it does everything, yeah.
We liked it. I'm not going to be paralyzed by our analysis of it. I asked the gentleman for a cost, and I also couched it with no one in this area has this technology. If we do it, we would like the 50 to 70% off discount that we'll use for doing it in our district, because, pardon me? A pilot program because I know if it is as good as it looks to us, there will be other districts joining on. Just as Lockport has called Maria for the posting for a security officer, just as Lockport, and unfortunately for Lockport, I don't mean to make light of them at all. The other districts are going this way. And I want to make sure we get it as soon as possible. And I am going to purchase a single lane for the prep schools and the elementary schools. Now, whether we want to use the elementary schools or not is something we could talk about. But I am going to purchase, I think we should purchase them. It's mobile, and it can be taken outside.
Can we use American Rescue funds for that?
We can, Mr. Cadella. And my original thought was we could look to use smart school money, but as Ray will tell you, it will take 71 years to get it through smart schools. And I'm not waiting. I'm not going to wait. I'm going to ask you probably to use rescue funds. It's a good use of it because it's a one-time purchase. So I know we'll find the funding. While I'm there and while I'm on funding.
Mark, can you hear me?
Yeah. What's that?
Yes, sir. I'll just speak as loud as you can, please.
I've gone through a similar system. It might even be the same system at a stadium in Nashville, and they're pretty efficient. And you can see the tablets, and they work pretty well because, they were just like, hey, can you step to the side? Can you step to the side? And
Yes.
The checks really quick.
Yes.
It's really efficient.
It's with tablets. Yes, Earl, it is, Mr. Bass, yes, it is. So we're impressed, and we'll do a demonstration for you before you see it. And it's mobile, it's sleek, we could put our logo on it, and I think we'll be the envy of a lot of schools. And you know what? It's a terrible thing to have to do, but we have to do it. It's a terrible thing we have to do.
It's all right, we'll sleep better.
Yep. I just wanted to in no way be patronizing, but I do want to thank the Niagara Falls Police Department. Immediately provided extra resources. Resources like plainclothes undercover police officers that were on places in the building that, like, I'm sure you didn't know they were on the roof, the field house, they were in different areas outside. With a snap of the fingers, board members and mayor, the police department rose to the occasion, and they were in places that no one even knew. Nor will we announce that just for the protection. So the Niagara Falls Police Department came to the rescue immediately. Secondly, Chief Faso has a FBI agent working with him. And the FBI agent is the one who is doing the research. And it's really important, at least to me in my thinking, that we find out who this perpetrator is. Because this stuff has got to stop. This has got to stop. So that's why the investment in the FBI and the work of our Niagara Falls Police is so critical. It's got to stop. Here, Olean, Medina, Lockport again today, it's got to stop. Finally, I made a decision at the consultation of Chief Del Porto and Chief Faso to keep school going. If there was any hint of credibility or concern, we would have done the right thing. I'm hard-headed, but I'm not that hard-headed. And I believe it was the right call to make. So I want to thank all those groups because the response this week was good. I have more, Mr. Petrosi, but I know it's getting close to the time. I'll wait.
Okay, you could finish up later, of our colleagues. You want a break or you want to go right into the meeting?
I have to run to the metro.
All right, well, 5 minutes. Everyone will start at 4 minutes after. Thank you. Anybody have any questions on the agenda? Anybody have any special needs on the agenda? Okay.
Hey, is Earl Bass still on, Ray? Earl, can you hear me?
Yes, I am.
The Tennessee Titans are using that.
Yeah. So.
And they've beaten the Bills, so I guess we should buy it.
That hurt, Mark.
Earl,
That struck a nerve.
I didn't hear you say the Titans, but it's the same thing they're using.
Yeah, that's the stadium that I went to. I didn't
Have you
really
seen
get
it there?
Yes, I saw it there.
Did you walk through it?
Yes, I walked through it.
You liked it? Is it?
And yeah, it's really efficient. I think I might have had a metal straw in my pocket, so they, had me step to the side just to verify that.
All right.
And you can see the person holding the tablet. You can see the tablet, and it does. It shows
Yeah, that's
the
it.
person wherever.
That's it.
Wherever the item
And then,
is.
and then you
it
put the
lights
other
up on
person to the
screen,
side.
They check you, and it was really, really efficient. You had 50,000 people walk.
Yeah, that's it. Same stuff. It's the same system. He said a college in South Carolina is using it too, so.
Was someone saying something to me?
Earl, he said South Carolina University is using it too. He did, yeah.
Okay. Well, they didn't beat Penn State, so I'm okay.
Are you able to hear right now, Earl?
Yes, I can hear right now.
Okay. I think the noise suppression was on, so like it's trying to reduce background noise. You should be able to hear a lot better now.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, 2-minute warning, everybody. 2-minute warning. Okay, if we can settle in, we'll get started so we can get home tonight. Should Shouldn't be a very long meeting. I have everybody. Mr. Cadella's here. Okay, please stand for the pledge for the flag and the prayer. Thank you. And we'll have a prayer by Mrs. Dunn.
Let us pray. We ask, O Lord, to protect and watch over our board members, staff, and our families, so that in the strength of your grace, we may enjoy prosperity, possess the priceless gift of your peace, as we all bear witness in this world to your glory. We thank you for your blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Clara. Judy, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bass.
Present.
Mr. Bilson.
Present.
Mr. Kinsemi. Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Cadella.
Mr. Cadella is here.
Mr. Pareto.
Yes.
Mr. Velardo. Mr. Petrosi.
Here.
8 present.
Okay. I'm going to change the agenda a little bit, so Mr. Cadella, here comes Mr. Cadella, so I will not have to do that. Show Mr. Cadella is present, please. We will start with item 204 is appointment of board member to fill the vacant seat, and the person the board is recommending is Mike Kelpis. Do I have a motion? I had a motion by Mr. Cadella and a second by Mr. Pareto. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass.
Yes.
Mr. Bilson.
Yes.
Mr. Kinsemi.
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn.
Abstain.
Mr. Cadella.
Yes.
Mr. Pareto.
Yes.
Mr. Velardo. Mr. Petrosi.
I don't know why, Mike, but yes. Good luck.
6 in favor, motion carried.
Would you step up, Mr. Kelpis? And Judy, would you please swear him in?
You raise your right hand and repeat. I, Michael Kelpis,
I, Michael Kelpis,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of board member
the duties of board member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Please sign here.
Thank you.
All right, there, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well,
I'm going to have you take your seat between.
thanks.
Follow the bouncing ball.
Temporarily. I appreciate it. It's an honor and a privilege to join a board with so many respected people in the community. I'm humbled to join a district with such amazing administrators, teachers, and of course, students. I look forward to coming up to speed very quickly and doing what's best for the city, for the district, and of course, the students. So thank you for this opportunity.
And with that, you promise macaroni for each board meeting or what?
That could get expensive.
Good luck, Mike. Judy, Mike has indicated to show him his abstentions for the votes tonight.
You're abstaining on the votes this evening?
Yeah, I won't call him. I won't call it every
Understood.
time. Okay, I have letters of communications, the public speaking section, 3 minutes. I have 3 speakers. Are they on agenda items or non-agenda items? Mr. Weiss, is it agenda, not agenda? Okay. Mr. Kudis, non-agenda? Not agenda. And Mrs. Jones, Non-agenda? Okay, so we'll catch you at the end. Written communications, I do have a thank you card from the Ron Villardo family. I'll pass that around, and our condolences again. Okay, we'll start with recommended actions from the Superintendent of Schools, 401 and 402 together, our minutes of the November 21 meeting, and the approval of budget transfer number 5. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Villardo. I need a second.
Second.
Tony, Mr. Preto, any questions? All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, Judy, my apologies. It's
Any
on-
opposed?
None.
Hearing none, motion's carried.
My apologies.
Quite all
There
right.
are no bids. Treasurer's report, received and filed along with the budget status report. We have personnel report, we have certificated. Mr. Villardo on the motion. Thank you, Mr. Consemi. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Villardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
8 in favor, 1 abstention, motion carried.
4.07, personnel report classified. Mr. Bilson and second, Mr. Preto. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Villardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Report approved.
Thank you. Personnel report addendum. Motion by Mr. Cadella.
Second.
Second by Mr. Pareto. Questions?
May I make a comment?
Sure you may.
This addendum is to recognize the work of Mr. Corella. As I said, for 36 years, Rick was one of the finest teachers, and I would venture to say, in the state of New York, he is one of the best curriculum and instruction people. And this is a resolution in support of his work. I hope he stays around with me and with the district because we're better for it. And we couldn't have a better assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, if you support that, than Rick Corella. The second resolution is in regard to Ms. Massaro, who has been coming to work very late lately. She gets here at 10 after 5 in the morning, which I'll speak to her about, and she's usually here well past whatever time her office phone rings in her cell phone and she answers a call. She has been everything from a contact tracer to a human resources officer to a collator of paper during the pandemic and worked 71 days without a day off. She has also done 50 human resources packets for a Head Start program that is human resources intensive. That is why I'm recommending an increase for her. This is certainly deserved, earned, and your team is excellent. That's in no diminishment to the others that are here, but I would strongly ask you to consider this addendum in honor and recognition of their work. You may be reading in a nearby district where there are 40 people with 23 assistant superintendents. 23. Now, we're 1/4 their size. I realize that. We had none. So this district could not run as efficiently and effectively without the two of them. And that is 57 years of experience. And to have a human resources official who is also an attorney, I would say the best attorney in the district. Sorry, Jim. And to have a curriculum mind, the caliber of Rick Corella, you don't find better people. I'd appreciate your support, but please vote your conscience.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Mr. Consemi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, but a thank you.
All in favor?
He's abstaining. We're showing his extensions. Okay, short-term contracts, 4.10.
Excuse me, Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, ma'am.
How about if we do 408 and 409 together?
If you want.
All right.
Okay. 4.08 and 4.09, Committee on Special Ed, and the Preschool Committee on Special Ed. Moved by Mr. Consemi. Second, please, by Mrs. Dunn. Questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Report's accepted.
Thank you. 4.10, short-term contracts with Marion Leonard, People Inc., and Global Spectrum. Motion, I heard, who was the motion? Thank you. Second by Mr. Prato. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Mr. Consemi? Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take 601 to 605 together. These are all acceptance of funds for, one is the mentor teacher, the second one is my brother's keeper, third is extended school day, and fourth is the Title I, Part A. Motion, please. Mr. Velardo.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Pareto. Questions?
For the superintendent. Yep. Did anybody else receive a request for dollars from the Boys Club in a formal letter besides myself? I haven't. For the record, can you tell me roughly how much money our Brothers Keepers program and our other programs, the supplemental programs, have been given to the Boys Club? So yeah, I can give you a rough number. This is all through a grant. So you've got your $153 million, $57 million general fund budget. And I'm going to give you a rough number. It's close to $210,000, okay, for the Boys and Girls Club. It's all from an F code, which is a grant code. Now, let me just break it down a little deeper for you, okay? During the school year, that is about $83,000, and that goes to help certain families pay nothing for their latchkey in the morning or the afternoon. So we've got a pretty robust latchkey program. The $83,000 that we receive from the, and I want to say it's extended school day grant, goes to the Boys Club so that they don't have to charge parents for latchkey. The $125,000, and I might be off a few here, goes to the summer program that we do with them. You know how we have the 6-week summer program in the afternoon? That's part of it. There is another part that they receive for programming done in the schools. So all total, and I'm being very approximate here, 210,000? Yeah, in that ballpark, and that's the purpose of it. And it's all F code or grant money. With your permission, I'm going to forward you the letter that I received, because the perspective that she used is that the Boys Club does it alone, doesn't have any money. And I think somewhere it should be stated what we do and how we contribute to the Niagara Falls Boys Club. Sure, and what we do and how we do it is when we write for these grants, we include them as a partner. A lot of times you got to have community-based organizations. In this case, it comes from extended school day. Right, Rick? I'm looking at Rick. It comes from extended school day because the summer is an extended school day or school year, and the 3 to 6 is an extended school day. So that's where that money comes from. And it defrays the cost of either morning latchkey or afternoon latchkey. But it's about Yeah, I don't know the letter you're referring to, but I'd be happy to take a look at it and address it.
Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass? Mr. Bass? Oh, yeah, my mic's on.
Earl, you there?
Earl?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Cudella?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Thank you.
Did I catch 605, Judy? Bring in 605, the acceptance of funds for the Head Start program. Mr. Cudella and Mr. Velardo. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Cudella?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. And Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
All in favor, thank you.
6.06 is the approval of a resolution for the Board of Education of the City School District of Niagara Falls for the City of Niagara Falls Centennial Park Entertainment Venue. Moved by Mr. Pareto and a second by Mr. Bilson. Any questions?
May I make a comment, Mr. President?
You sure may.
This is from the mayor. We had a sidebar. He had to step away. He wanted to let you know, A, if you choose to support this, he appreciates it very much. B, Rick, you can tell them he was really impressed with the sister school presentation. And C, he's got a 15-0 resolution from Niagara County. The Seneca Casino is committed to working on this along with the state government that he's been talking to. So this would come as part of a package. Your resolution, if approved, would come as part of a package that he'll put together to accompany that other work. That's what he wanted me to convey to you. And I did ask him if he would mind coming back, giving you an update on the progress of this park. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Earl? Earl?
Mr. Bass?
Okay,
Now
why don't you go
circle
around?
back
We'll come
around.
back.
Mr. Wilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi?
Mr. Consemi.
Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Cudella?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Mr. Bass, are you with us? Thank you.
Yes, I'm here.
Yep,
Can you
I
hear
think
me?
I just heard him.
Did you want to
I'm
vote
here.
in
Can you hear
favor
me?
or opposed to the mayor's Centennial Park plan?
Yes, I answered yes, yes.
Thank
Can
you,
hear
sir.
me?
Okay, thank you very much. 6.07 to 6.10, various agreements. One is transfer of property to Head Start. Another one is approval amendment of a contract with Temp. And the third one is approval of a contract with City School District and the State University of New York. And the last one is with Aries Transportation. Mr. Consemi, was that in the motion? Thank you, Mr. Cudella. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Cudella?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you. 611 to 613. These are various payments on our capital projects, Ferguson Electric, UNS Services, and Ferguson Electric again. Motion, please. Thank you, Mr. Pareto. Second by Mr. Cudella. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Cudella?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you. There are no proposed policies. Moving on, oral communications. I will go back to the public speaking section. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Mr. Weiss, you're up first.
Please state your address for the agenda. Addresses for the agenda.
Please state your name, address, and who you may represent.
Thank you. I'd like to speak in, my official capacity, and I'd like to reference our agreement with the Board of Education. I know that you gentlemen and ladies have been, very good at honoring that agreement. And as I sat back there and I thought about it, this does have to do with an agenda item. And in Article 5 of our contract, that affords NFT the opportunity to address, two members of NFT to address the board on matters that are agenda items. So I would like you to please be liberal with your 3-minute time period there, if you would. I first want to welcome Mr. Kelpis to the board and wish you the best of luck. It's a big task, and we wish you all the best. Obviously, if you do well, we end up doing well. I want to start off by thanking the Niagara Falls Board of Education for your continued support and dedication to the staff and students of our schools during these ever-changing times. As we approach the holidays, we wish both you and your families a healthful and happy time. But tonight I'd like to begin a conversation, and I say begin because that's what a conversation is. It's back and forth, it's not one-sided, and I hope that you'll oblige me. I've been an employee in this district for almost 20 years, and I look forward to serving the district, hopefully over the next 15 years or so as well. I've had the opportunity to work with some of the hardest working and most talented staff that any district has to offer over the years. Our membership takes great pride in working for this school district and working to serve the community in Niagara Falls. Since 1993, our district has operated with a school board imposed condition of employment that requires all employees to live within the city limits. For almost 25 years, we've served periodic teacher shortages, budget crises, and anything else thrown our way. This school year is the first year that it feels at times like we're no longer surviving with this policy in place. I know that many NFT presidents have had similar conversations with you in the past. I think the major difference is that they were under drastically different circumstances. The main purpose of a school district, as you all know, is to educate and enrich students and families that we serve. Having a fully staffed district is one of the most important responsibilities that we have, and when it cannot meet the basic need, we cannot meet this basic need, we have to evaluate why it is that we can't fill good and fair paying jobs when all of the surrounding districts around us can. To ignore this wouldn't be practical. Giving Ms. Massaro the tools that allow her to hire the very best quality candidates is really less than sensible. No business would allow themselves to operate under these constraints and expect to be viable for the long term. Right now, at this very moment, we have jobs that are not filled because of this policy. They haven't been filled for some time now. Others have been filled with short-term solutions that will not provide the continuity that our students and school system thrive on. Future openings will have less applicants than we currently do now, and those applicants stand a likelihood to be less qualified. These circumstances are our reality, whether we ignore them or not. As teachers, one of the things that the district constantly asks us to do is analyze data. And I thought it would be prudent to share some relevant facts that could be considered data with you. We currently have more than 250 NFT members that are within 5 years of retirement age. That doesn't include anyone else that we might have to replace or add. It's harder than ever to sustain top quality staff without any residency restrictions, and with them, it really cripples our ability. This past year, we've lost some of the brightest young teachers that we've had to other districts simply because of this policy. Amherst, Buffalo, and Cheektowaga and other surrounding districts have benefited, to name a few. These districts do not boast different circumstances and certainly do not offer better compensation. That leaves a single reason that they left. No other local school district requires potential employees to find a home within a 17.2 square mile radius. Buffalo, the last city with a Board of Education residency policy, lifted theirs in 2011 amid similar hiring difficulties that we currently face. In the 10 years since then, The average home price in Buffalo has risen over 30%. More relevant, in that same period of time, the graduation rate in the city of Buffalo has gone from 52% to 74%. We all too often waste valuable resources on stakeouts and investigations that eventually drive a wedge between employees and their employer needlessly. It's time to reallocate these resources, time, and effort back into our students. The residency policy was instituted to create an increased sense of pride and connection between staff and students. I am certain that my colleagues in other local districts would be offended if I told them that their ability to do so was less than mine. NFT has a long-standing tradition in being partners and role models in the city of Niagara Falls long before the residency policy was ever in place, and without anyone ever questioning their ability to connect to our students. If the policy was modified or limited, it would do nothing to diminish this connection to our community. I understand the fears on the flip side. Teachers will move out and the tax base will erode. We all have significant investments that no one would ever consider just getting up and walking away from. Many of us truly love living here, myself being one of them, and will never leave. Some would possibly leave selling houses, which would create additional economic investment in our community. The tax base would remain the same, or even possibly increase with newly assessed houses. The public may view this negatively and feel abandoned is always another concern. I beg to differ. I think the community's biggest concern is our investment into education and the assurance that their children, not the street address of whomever's teaching them, will impact their families more. Many probably don't even realize that the policy exists. I know I certainly didn't growing up 5 minutes away. There are many considerations that I'd love to continue to discuss in depth with each of you. I'd love to hear your viewpoints and considerations for the policy that I might not have. If we simply shut the door and say we can't talk about them from different sides and angles, then the policy has never been rooted and earnest in good faith. I know many of you on a personal level, and I've worked with others on district initiatives closely with you, and all that we're asking is to open the conversation. I'd like to leave you with a couple of things to really consider. One, are we truly fortunate enough to be able to have a policy that makes hiring exponentially more difficult? Is limiting the potential qualified candidates that could apply and work in our district providing justice in education for our students? Are there any benefits to losing experienced, highly rated teachers to other districts that are potentially less attractive in every conceivable way, except for one than ours? I'd like to close with one piece of information that steps outside of my realm as NFT president. I believe in this district and the ability to meet many challenges. It's essential to me in my most important role in this entire world that my children get the best education available to them. I have an 8-year-old daughter who I've had the pleasure of having in my own class this year. I have a 10-year-old son. Leaving them with anything less than the absolute best opportunity makes me sick to my stomach as a parent. I know we're under really difficult situations, a situation right now, and I understand that it's not a simple decision for anyone or even a simple conversation to have. But we need a level playing field with other local districts to compete for the best and most qualified educators for our future, for my children's future, and for the future of all the students that come through this district. Mr. President of the Board, I reside at 919 Maple Avenue, and I plan on staying in that house regardless of what this district decides to do with this policy for the long term. but something that has to happen is we have to drive and explore every opportunity to make this city and school district better. I hope that sometime in the near future that I'll be choosing to stay here in Niagara Falls for all the things that we've grown to love, not being told I have to do so. I thank you respectfully for taking time to listen to me this evening, and I look forward to speaking with each of you in the near future. And happy holidays, and we wish you a healthy one for each of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Kudis.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Kudis, and for the past 21 years, I have taught English at Niagara Falls High School, and I'm currently the Secondary Vice President of NFT 801. I am here this evening in those capacities to describe the teacher shortage so that you may consider the detrimental impact this body's residency policy will have on its ability to recruit new teachers. In 1997, the best educational research available cautioned us as prospective teachers not to exceed 23 minutes when lecturing our classes. The attention span of students at that time prohibited it. Today, that number has shriveled to an impossible 9 seconds. Were I to have read this aloud in class, most students, so the research suggests, would have stopped listening 5 times. As a teacher, you ignore facts like that at your own peril. Other numbers have changed too in that time horizon. When I started my career, a vacancy in my department would in a week have resulted in a haul of more than 1,000 highly qualified resumes on Walnut Avenue. Today, that same posting yields not one. A 2019 study conducted by the Economic Policy Institute estimates that nationally, the teacher shortage will exceed 100,000 teachers per year for the better part of the next decade. When focusing on New York, NICET estimates that the Empire State will experience this shortage by the catastrophic level of 18,000 teachers per year. Every district in the nation will be impacted. And as we well know here in Niagara Falls, not equitably, not fairly. When indicators of teacher quality are taken into account, the shortage is even more acute than currently estimated, with, as you should have guessed, high poverty schools suffering the most from the shortage of credentialed teachers. That's us. They're not coming, and a good number of those that are here are readying to leave. Over the next 5 years, 33% of the state's teachers will reach retirement age. In our district, the number approaches almost 40% of its 640 active members. Take a walk down any hallway, and nearly every other one of your classrooms will need a new teacher. Mine will be one of them. Worse still, not one of the studies mentioned above takes into account the profound impact COVID has had on the labor market and people's attitudes about work and the workplace. The Be Thankful You Have a Job generation is in its final act. Today, if people don't like where they work or where they live, they leave. And as Dan said, many great teachers already have. This week, Niagara Falls High School surpassed 3,000 sub-coverage periods to date. In December, by the end of the year, that will mean more than 10,000 periods of extra work by teachers who already work with the profession's most challenged and challenging students. Make no mistake either, for the fiduciary-minded, that's 10,000 periods of little to no engagement at a cost of more than $350,000. Every one of those periods is a permanently lost opportunity in a community that already suffers from a lack of opportunity. A community you have all sworn to serve. As Dan said, the children in this district deserve better, every one of them. I can choose tomorrow to walk into my classroom and lecture for 23 minutes. You too can shrug off the numbers, dismiss, and downplay the facts. We can't rename our way out of this one. We can't wait. The shortage is real and is already here. Placing further limitations on an already non-existent candidate pool is a disadvantage we cannot afford and which will only place us further behind. I urge you to revoke the residency policy. Time dares us to change and to grow. I stand here tonight able to tell you that I've done my part, and I hope soon I'll be able to say the same of you. And thank you, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Mrs. Jones.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the board, and everyone else in their respective places. I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you. This week has been a trying week at Niagara Falls High School with all of the social media issues that we have been dealing with. And I just want to acknowledge what the board has done, what our superintendent has done to support us, what NFT has done to support us, and to say thank you. We have had an increased amount of safety officers in our building. We have 10 safety officers now. We have been given new radios to use in the building that are able to have long-range reception. We have wands in the building, and we were able to acquire more from the Niagara Falls Police Department. Our new safety director has been with us at every step. He has been with us every day. He is a resource that just cannot be replaced, so thank you for hiring him. We have additional lunch staff. We have 8 floaters in addition to all of the lunch staff that has been increased this year. We have 2 additional deans that were hired for our building. Additional crisis counselor has been added to our building. We have an additional social worker added to our building. And as a matter of fact, we have a PASS team that has been added to our building, and their caseloads have been increased. They follow through with students. They stay with them during the day. We have a late flex program with interventionists that are going out into the community to do home visits with students who are not coming to school. We just wanted to take an opportunity to say thank you for your support, for the resources that you have provided. This week was a little scary for our students. It was a little scary for our staff. But when we opened the doors of the school on Wednesday, the students were there. The staff members were there. The Niagara Falls Police Department was there. The FBI agents undercover were there. The men standing strong together were there. The Western New York Peacemakers were there. Our parents from our newly formed PEG group were there. And we thank you guys for coming and stopping by and checking and seeing how we were doing. I just want to say that the students have been very cooperative. They've been sending me chat messages. They've been calling me on my Google Voice number. They've been sending me emails. They've been giving me information that I can pass on for everyone's safety. And those items have been followed through on. So I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. And I also want to especially say thank you to our staff members who took the time to try to make sure our building was safe as they do on a daily basis. We have a new campaign with our students, and they are picking it up and running with it. They are seeing something, and they are saying something. So thank you very much for your help.
Thank you very much. Let's see where we're at. It'll be next will be Superintendent's Report.
Yep. So just, I did make a couple of presentations earlier. First of all, Mr. Kelpis, welcome aboard. Thank you for taking this on. I know we had other individuals who were interested. It is great that we had a number of people interested. I know the quality of businessman you are, human being you are, and what I know best about you is you have a care for the city. You want things to get better. And I know you'll work and have creative solutions. So we got a winner with Mr. Kelpis on the board. Congratulations. I wanted to say that to you. Yep. I also wanted to, Mrs. Dunn reminded me, and Cynthia alluded to a little bit of this. We did have the meeting with the Men Standing Strong board members. Mr. Petrosi, you could speak more if you'd like, but Mr. Petrosi, Mr. Pareto, myself, and the Niagara Falls High School administrative team joined us. And some of the topics that they wanted to talk about were that they needed some information on rules, regulations, policies, procedures, dress codes. And Mrs. Jones shared that with them, and I hope you shared some documents with them. You said you were going to. They wanted to know the role of Chief Del Porto. They wanted to hear more about supervision in the bathrooms. What could be done, what is being done, why are certain things being done. They wanted to know, they asked for some tips on how to speak to students who are in conflict, who are being disrespectful, how to approach those students, what to say, what not to say, how to ask the teachers for help. So they were looking for clarifications. They were very bothered by the appearance of some students, and they expressed that. And they were asking and felt that we needed more staff in the lunchroom, and Ms. Jones addressed that in what she just said. So those were the topics that were covered during that meeting. I feel that they were satisfied with the responses, and we continue to value them and the peacemakers for being in the building. It's what I call having the village. Takes a village, that's the village. They've got to be part of us. So that's what, for board members and Mrs. Dunn in particular who asked that. I neglected to recognize someone in this week's personnel report at the time, but I wanted to publicly and for the record thank Ms. Sheila Smith. This evening, unfortunately, you approved Ms. Smith's retirement. She's good, she's healthy, but she's retiring. And I wanted to publicly say that she has had a stellar career as a leader, principal at Hyde Park, principal at Gaskill, and most recently, a principal at 79th Street School. She is a good person. She cares about the kids, and she'll be a loss to the district. So I didn't want this opportunity, even though she's not here, and she will retire from presence next week, and then officially retire on January 8th. So I did want to mention her and thank her for her tireless leadership. Now, we have asked and secured Ms. Diane Cody to be the, I would call interim principal at 79th Street School. And there's a particular reason why I did that. Mrs. Cody is well-known, well-skilled, especially at 79th Street, where she retired from. The major reason why I did that is because what our schools, in my opinion, need more than anything is stability and consistency. We got the high school, for instance. They're on a roll. It's not perfect. It's getting there. But every day, that stability and consistency after 20 months of COVID is coming back. The elementary schools, the prep schools, they need consistency and stability. And I want to thank the Administrators Union, many of whom are here, for allowing a temporary reprieve, and I promised them that we would fill their positions, we would not cut their ranks, unless there was some crazy budget situation, which Becky better not let happen, but we would fill their ranks and look to even support that with additional positions if possible. So that's the plan, and that's the reason. The district needs to be stable. Next, I want to tell you about something that I don't even know if the high school administrators know yet, but I was called by the building trades this week, the building trades organization. We know we're really moving those trades. They asked if Niagara Falls High School, the field house and parking lot in particular, would hold the building trades exploratory day for all the schools in Niagara County, and they wanted to do it at high school because they know our push. So that will be a day probably in early April, but we've got to work that out with the high school. They'll have electricians doing electrical work, carpenters, operators and engineers, laborers, brick masons, painters and plasters. They're signed up. That what they're going to do, and we'll just bring our kids right out there. And I said, as long as our kids get to come first, they'll see those jobs in action. So I'm excited about Trades Day for the county at Niagara Falls High School. I think it's a good statement. Not saying strong. Finally, I want to ask the board, this doesn't take any resolution, and I will give you my answer to it, but I hope you'll recall, and I'm not sure, Mr. Kelpis was on the board, but 2 years ago before COVID, maybe even that meeting before COVID, we put in the budget $250,000 to purchase new musical instruments for the music teachers. And we didn't do it during COVID because our program wasn't full. We were able to roll that $250,000 into this year's budget. Mr. Smeal tells me that that bid that we received still holds until the end of the year. What I would like to do, and what I'm asking you to do, and I can tell you where the money will come from, I just explained a couple of places, is I'd like to add $100,000 to that line for our music teachers. If we put that line at $350,000, what it will do is it will allow, Becky sent out a survey asking the music teachers for their wish list. If we got to $352,000, I think it was, Beck, we would not have to ask them to go back and remove one thing. We could buy every musical instrument, sheet music, and all that good stuff that, I'm sure Mr. Bilson knows about. We could buy it all and not have to go back to one music teacher and say, can you cut two things, can you cut one thing? Now, the money is there. It is there from from that administrative position, and the fact that our refund from BOCES is $27,000 more to the good. So I have identified the money in the budget. We have to do a little shifting around, but I would like to, just let you know that my intention this year is to add, to move in your budget transfer $100,000, unless someone has a concern or question about it. Right? It'll be a good thing for the music teachers. Just like a couple of years ago, I hate to give him credit for anything, but Mr. Petrosi was dead on when he made us do a cycle of replacement of vehicles. Remember that? We have to do cycles of things. We have to do this for the music. Probably next year we got to look at art and phys ed stuff, but if we don't do it, we'll never get it going. So this year I want to dedicate that money to music. Next year we'll look for another avenue. Thank you very much. I will work with Becky and Julie to move the money appropriately. And again, this is not increasing your budget. It's not taking away from anything. There are lines, Earl's got extra lines in his utility budget I could take easy, but, I don't want to listen to it, so. Yeah, he does. But, no, seriously, there's lines that we have money, probably because of COVID, we didn't spend it, or won't spend it. Finally, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a happy and joyous holiday season, a Happy New Year. This was probably one of the more difficult years. COVID was nothing. This was a difficult year. We had a lot of recovery to do, and I think we're doing it. But it was a difficult year, and we couldn't have done it if we didn't work together, and if we weren't honest, and we weren't open, and we didn't listen to each other. So I want to thank our staff, our teachers, the administrators, the members of our team here, the community, the parents, and the students, Started a Superintendent's Advisory Council, had my first meeting yesterday. I'm looking to have 12 to 15. I had 8 students with me because I want to hear what they have to say about what's going on and where I don't know any longer because of my distance from the schools. And these kids, these students, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, are just amazing to listen to. They know. They'll tell you straight out. It's just reaffirming that we're in the right place. So I want to say to all of you, the best of health, happiness in the upcoming year and the holidays. The saddest part of this night is the way you're going to close your meeting. That list is far too long. It's far too long. We're losing too many of our friends, our relatives, our neighbors, and our colleagues. The list is too long. We have got to continue to work together, be critical friends. We can be critical friends, but we got to work together and support each other to get through this, because it's a difficult time, and this is the only place I'd want to be. As I say all the time, Niagara Falls School District isn't perfect, but it's perfect for me and it's perfect for my kids. It was perfect for my kids. 2 out of 3 did well. No, all 3 of them did well. All 3 of them did well. So they all did well. Don't tell Matthew I said that, please. Please don't tell him I said that. He had some of the teachers out there, and that's why he's a teacher. That's why he's an English teacher, if you can read between the lines, because he had some of the teachers. So thank you, board. We do have arguably the best board around. Arguably, I would take you against anyone. And I would take our staff and students against anyone. So thank you, and that's a wrap for me.
Thank you, Mark. I'll go around the horn real quick. Mr. Consemi.
I guess first of all, I have to congratulate Mr. Kelpis and welcome you aboard. I think you saw tonight how our board operates, how thorough our superintendent is in his presentations, how thorough our staff is when they give us information that is pertinent to us, and in a sense that you can visually feel all the caring that goes on at this table. I'd like to wish everybody a very, very happy holiday. I'm going to say Merry Christmas and God bless you all. I hope that we just continue to go forward, Mark. And I'm sure we will. Thank you for the wisdom that we heard given tonight by our speakers. Thank you. Thank you for addressing us. Thank you for opening up words. Thank you for working like the words of communication. We all need to communicate with one another continuously. Things are changing. Things are changing. The status quo of everything is okay sometimes isn't going to work. Again, thank you. Mrs. Jones, thank you personally for probably fulfilling one of the hardest jobs that anybody in this district has been asked to fulfill. And all of your staff who stood beside you and make us look like we know what we're doing. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Mr. Bilson.
Welcome, Mr. Kelpis. Congratulations. Rick and Maria, congratulations. Well deserved. As we approach the holiday and the new year, I've been thinking a lot about how this team is special to me. And when I say team, that's every single person involved in this school district, from the children, the families, and the entire staff, this board, as well as reflecting on things in life I'm most thankful for. I'm especially grateful for all of you. I'm thankful for our students, the community, our entire staff, and this school district, which constantly excites and challenges us and always helps us meet and exceed the expectations that we feel are going to be best for the kids. I'm especially grateful for each member of this team. And again, this team is all of us together as one. Especially grateful for this team. We share mutual trust and a desire to achieve long-term success together. We've definitely had our challenges this year. Again, however, through it all, you continue to focus and perform when it comes to our mission. That mission is to provide the best education possible and deliver outstanding results every single day. None of this would be possible if not for your unparalleled work ethic and absolute commitment to excellence. So it is greatly appreciated. especially you, Mr. Superintendent. Together, we are a group that strives to be the best for our students, the best for our community, and the best for ourselves and our families. And we appreciate and applaud you all. From my family to yours, I wish everyone a safe and happy holiday and New Year's. And I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Nick?
I was told a long time ago, less is more. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone, and good health in the coming year. And anytime the union would like my opinion on residency, feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Ms. Claridon?
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Capizzi. Just want to say things that I see on the news about other school districts, things that I hear all across the country about other school districts. I do have to say we are a good board, but one thing that I like most about being on this board, that we all have respect for each other, and I hope we never lose that. And the other thing I like is we can speak our minds, we can disagree, and move on. And I hope we stay that way. So I want to just say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'll keep you all in my prayers to stay healthy and that we all come back strong in 2022. I like that Barbara Walters say 2020.
Thank you. Thank you much, Clara. Mike, would you like to say anything?
Mr. Laurie, thank you for the kind words, and I've had the pleasure of knowing you for some time now, and I've watched you guide this district over the last 2 years, and you've done an amazing job. So I'm very fortunate to be a part of that. Mr. Weiss, thank you for your kind words. You represent an amazing group of individuals, and I want to thank my fellow board members now for having the faith in me to put me alongside you. I'm always available to each and every one of you. I look forward to working on any projects with any of you. And as Mr. Laurie said, I do have a passion for the city of Niagara Falls. We're not perfect. We have a lot of work to do, but we'll take it step by step and do what we can. And Merry Christmas to everybody, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
Thanks, Mike. Paul?
Welcome, Mike, to the board. You're a good asset to all of us and the community. Thank you to Mr. Weiss and Mr. Kudis for your professional and pointed words and remarks. Thank you for the sister school update. That was very enlightening for me. I loved it. Congrats to Maria and Rick. And big thank you to our high school team, everybody back there. Thank you for your hard work, especially this week, and your attention to detail. And thank you to the board for that approval of the security director. I think is the proof's in the pudding the last 2 weeks. And last but not least, happy holidays and happy New Year to everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Julie, anything, Julie? No? Back row? Anybody? I won't ask the lawyers, they'll talk all night. No, anything?
Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh.
Ray, anything?
No.
No? How about Mr. Bass?
Look at this. No, look.
I'm going to actually speak. Mark was
Okay,
looking at me.
hang
I
on one
wasn't sure
second,
what he
Mr.
wanted.
Bass.
I just wanted to thank the board. I'm humbled by your confidence and your support, and I especially want to thank Mark. When many of my contemporaries are thinking about retiring, I'm thinking about what we can do together to continue to improve the district. So I'm just very, very thankful to be working here. And happy holidays to all.
Thank you, Rick. Mr. Bass.
Yes, first I'd like to send my condolences to the families of people we've lost. There's been a lot of people passing away connected to the district. My heart goes out to those families. Also wanted to thank Ms. Jones, Ms. Crumpton, and Ms. Jordan over at Niagara Falls High School for allowing me to speak with the young men's group yesterday. We had a very positive discussion. I was on a panel of four other gentlemen, And I think that that conversation that we had, especially what was the thread of yesterday, I think it was very appropriate. And I just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all those connected to the district. Welcome to Mike, and be safe.
Thanks, Earl. You're up, Mr. Pareto.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. NFT, we hear you. We'll look into things. The work you guys put in is amazing. You've educated my 3 kids, where 2 of them are still in college. They're finishing up. So thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. Our high school team, we heard you back in September when you came to us. We heard you. We're not done yet, and we're hoping that things get better. They seem to be stabilizing, but we had a rough week. But I have faith in you folks, your whole staff, and I have actually faith in our kids too, that they will see the right way. I'm glad for the appointment of Mr. Del Porto. When we thought of somebody, that guy's name popped into my head. And I'm glad that he is on board, and I'm glad he is so engaged into our situations. And when that came out this week, I said, thank goodness we put that guy on board. And I slept better knowing that, because you don't want to be a part of this board and there be something horrible like happens in other parts of this country. You don't want to have that here. And whatever we need to spend to secure it, we have to. Again, congratulations to some of our staff. That is excellent. You guys do an excellent job, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And I'm glad to make Mark's staff and our educational staff, as well as our personnel, stronger every day. My board members, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and please stay healthy, and we'll pray that everybody stays healthy. And that's it.
Thanks, Tony. How about Judy?
No, thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. It's all been said. It's nice to go last, but I wish everyone a happy, healthy holiday season, Happy New Year. If I may use first names, Dan and Stephen, anytime I'd be more than happy to sit with you. Just give me a call. Now we'll get to Cynthia, Cheryl, Brian, and Ed. Pardon me? And Kate?
She's on the payroll now.
Usually I put dollars and cents and return on investment. It's about 750 back there. It's worth every damn dime. Thank you so much for all you do. You didn't have to thank us. It was the right thing to do. So I wish you continued success. And saying that, I hate to read this list tonight. It's the longest list I've seen in some 20-some odd years.
Yep. Can I just interject one thing from Del Porto must be watching. If he is, he should be working. He just texted me. The FBI has put out a nationwide alert for all schools tomorrow. So I'm sure you'll hear it on the news, or you'll have it. Yeah, you'll hear it tonight. And what our plan is to have a police car at every school in the morning, and we'll check every school, not just the high school, tomorrow. And that is more sadness. But that will be our response, and again, more dividends from our director. And this comes from the FBI, an alert on all schools. And our response under his direction will be that there will be a car at every school in the morning, and cars will rotate throughout the day. Sorry, it just came in.
It's the world we live in.
Yep, sad.
But we're going to adjourn tonight's meeting in the member of the following who are no longer with us. Nadine Baugh, a library assistant at Hyde Park. Rosalind Kinsemi, dear friend of Jim Kinsemi. James Caprio, former Board of Education member and father-in-law of Colleen Caprio. Alan Coward, father of Sharon Coward, Alan Coward, and father-in-law of Frida Coward. Teresa DeLuise, mother-in-law of retired administrator Robert DeFrancisco and mother of teacher Sheila DeFrancisco. Mike Donatelli, father of Corinne and Lynn Donatelli, and father-in-law of Maria Scheiser Donatelli. Peter Filicetti, father of Niagara County Sheriff Michael Filicetti. Louis Gappo, father-in-law of retired maintenance employee Bill Muth. Millie Googe, retired maintenance employee. Louis Leo, father of Kelpis classroom teacher Lisa Leo. Larry Martinez, retired administrator. Donna Nasca, former teacher assistant at Abbott. Nakari Palmer, son of Shakia Jones and grandson of Tanya Adamson, both of maintenance department. Mark Tioli, teacher at LaSalle Prep. Ron Villardo, husband of Kathy Villardo, father of Lisa Supon and Anthony Villardo, father-in-law of Cheryl Villardo, and brother of board member Nick Villardo, and uncle of Michael and Karen Villardo. We have a motion for adjournment in memory of these people, please. Motion by Mrs. Dunn, second by Mr. Cadella. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Good night, everybody. Thank you for coming. Happy holidays.
All right, so what do you got to do? You got to do something with this, right? Resolution?